Pete Sampras has his name in history as one of the greatest tennis players of all time. Pete dominated tennis in an era that defined the growth of the sport. But what many people don't know is that Pete has one heck of a family that's also dominating other fields aside from tennis. From his multi-talented wife to his son who's following in his footsteps, let's take a look at the family of Pete Sampras. He was born on the 12th of August, 1971 in Washington, D.C. to Sammy and Georgia Sampras. His mother, Georgia Sampras, migrated to the U.S. from Greece where she met Sammy Sampras. In 1978, the Sampras family moved to Palos Verdes, California. When Pete was still very young, maybe at the age of 2 or 3, his dad handed him his very first tennis racket while they were in their house basement. At the time, Sammy wasn't even a fan of tennis. He was a mechanical engineer who worked for the space shuttle program. All Sammy wanted was for his son to have some fun. Little did he know that 20 years later, that moment would change Pete's life forever. However, this little moment didn't only affect Pete because his sister, Stella Sampras, also loved tennis. Back then, after Pete and his dad had their golden moment in the basement, Stella loved how Pete was having these mini trainings in the basement by smashing the ball with the racket against the wall. And soon after, Stella herself picked up an interest in tennis. Stella was born on March 9, 1969. She found her path when she moved to Los Angeles and enrolled at the University of California to get a degree in psychology. But along the way, she joined UCLA's women's tennis team where she earned the All-American honors on 4 occasions. As outstanding as that is, this isn't even the highlight of her career. Stella competed briefly on the professional tour, reaching a career best singles ranking of 248 with 2 ITF titles to her name. And as for doubles player, she twice appeared in the main draw of the US Open and was ranked as high as 142 in the world. Stella had massive potential to be on the record of all-time greats, just like her brother Pete. But in the year 1996, she quit her pro career and became the head coach of UCLA's tennis team. She won multiple titles with the team, and she's been extraordinary at her job. For that, she was inducted into the Southern California's Tennis Association Hall of Fame in 2017. Then on October 5, 2018, she became just the 4th active head coach to gain entry into the UCLA Athletic Hall of Fame. Now here's the good part. Pete and Stella might have been the only members of the Sampras family who competed in tennis professionally, but their older brother, Gus Sampras, is that one guy who loves to work behind the scenes. Gus Sampras was the former tournament director at the Scottsdale ATP event. In 2007, he became president of the firm managing Pete's business activities. And apart from the striking resemblance between Gus and Pete, Gus has stuck his neck out for Pete during his time as the Scottsdale ATP director. A good example is back in 2003 when Pete Sampras withdrew from the ATP Masters Series hardcourt event. Even though Pete hadn't officially retired at the time, he really was considering ending his career. The pressure from the media and the fans to know why he withdrew from the event was completely insane. They were all going wild with assumptions when finally, Gus stepped up like a hero without a cape and released a statement to the press saying, "Pete's still searching for reasons to come back. At the end of the day, playing well at the French Open or trying to win Wimbledon again might not be enough to get him back. But I haven't got the feeling that he's ready to retire." That's definitely one way to be a big brother. Pete's 3rd sibling, Marion Sampras, is a teacher in Los Angeles. So at this point, we've met all of Pete's immediate family. But if you are not a fan of the Mortal Kombat franchise, then you might not have an idea of who I'm talking about next. Her name is Bridgette Wilson, and she's married to Pete. Bridgette is known for her iconic role as Sonya Blade in the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie. Wilson was born on September 25, 1973. She grew up in a small coastal town of Gold Beach, Oregon with her parents. She's a former American actress, singer, model, and Miss Teen USA award winner. Wilson began her career as an actress after being crowned Miss Teen USA in 1990, playing the character of Lisa Fenimore on the soap opera Santa Barbara from April 1992 to January 1993. Bridgette met Pete Sampras by chance after Sampras spotted her at an LA movie theater, and the connection between the two was instant. You could even call it love at first sight. The power couple dated for 9 months before Sampras proposed at his Los Angeles home. 16 weeks later, they held the wedding in the backyard. Sampras rented a massive tent to cover his private tennis court and turned it into a reception hall. A backyard wedding is a little different when it's between a movie star and a globally famous athlete, and the Sampras and Wilson nuptials didn't disappoint. Reports also reveal that Elton John dropped in for a surprise performance. They have 2 children, Christian and Ryan Sampras. Christian Sampras is their first child. He was born on the 21st of November 2002, while Pete's second son, Ryan, was born on July 29, 2005. Of course, a lot of fans expected Pete's first son to take after him by showing interest in tennis, but he simply doesn't seem interested. However, Ryan is very much interested in keeping up his father's legacy and has shown interest several times in going pro as a tennis player. We might have talked about every family member of Pete's, but this video wouldn't be complete if we didn't talk about his longtime coach, Tim Gullikson. Tim Gullikson single-handedly transformed Pete Sampras from an introverted prodigy to a genuine candidate to become one of the greatest champions to play tennis. At the time, Pete was ranked 6th in the world and had not been able to duplicate his 1990 United States Open Championship when he hired Gullikson as his full-time coach in 1992. A year after hiring Gullikson, Sampras attained the #1 ranking for the first time at 21 years old. He also captured 6 Grand Slam tournaments after making Gullikson his coach. Gullikson literally made Pete the legend he is today. But at the age of 44, Gullikson died. During the funeral, Pete made a very touching speech. "We would have been friends for the rest of our lives. His death stopped me in my tracks. It was painful to watch a good man, father, husband die so young." The takeaway here is that Pete Sampras was surrounded by greatness throughout his career. And while his reign of dominance in tennis ended 20 years ago, what is Pete Sampras doing now? Pete has more or less been a family man since his retirement. He started competing again in 2006, but later left in 2011 during an exhibition match against Milos Raonic. His serve was so powerful in that match that it approached 124 miles per hour throughout the night. At the end of the day, there are a lot of speculations about the real reason Pete retired. For one, it might be to focus on his family, while another would be because of his health condition. That's right, Pete Sampras revealed he suffers from a disease called thalassemia, a low iron blood condition that affects people of the Mediterranean descent. In his first comments about it to the mainstream media, Sampras said he was diagnosed with thalassemia when he was a kid, but never went public with it until now. Sampras regularly takes iron supplements, but sometimes that's not enough in the flushing heat from preventing nausea and dizziness. So whether he quit because of his family or because of this disease, we can all agree that Pete Sampras is an absolute legend of tennis. But many can't seem to wonder if Pete Sampras would have still been one of the greatest tennis players in the world if he played during the era of Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer, and Novak Djokovic.